Have you ever had that feeling where your project is so close to perfect, but something just isn't quite right? Well, today we're going to talk about that crucial final step, the polish. It's the secret ingredient that takes a prototype from just good to truly great. Let's dive in.
So picture this. You've poured hours, maybe days, into your project. The features work, the design is solid, you are 99% of the way there. It is so tempting to just call it a day. But what if I told you that the most important part of your entire project is hiding in that final 1%? It's kind of like a chef plating a meal. All the hard work of cooking is done, right? But it's that final, careful presentation, the drizzle of sauce, the sprinkle of herbs, that makes you go, wow. That's exactly what we're talking about with your prototype. It's all about that final impression.
Okay, so what are these last adjustments really? What does this final polish actually involve? Let's break it down. At the end of the day, we're just talking about minor refinements. I want to be clear. This isn't about redesigning entire sections. No. These are the small, deliberate tweaks you make right at the finish line to smooth out tiny issues and make the whole thing feel, well, complete and professional.
I mean, this could be something as simple as fixing a button that's off by a few pixels. Or maybe you're adjusting the wording on a label to make it crystal clear. It could even be sharpening a slightly blurry icon or making the transition between screens feel less clunky. These are the little details that users might not consciously notice, but they absolutely feel them.
And that's the whole point, right? Every single one of these tiny changes has one ultimate goal: to improve the user experience at a micro level. It's like sanding the last rough edge off a piece of furniture. It's what makes the final product feel smooth, effortless, and just plain good to use. Now let's get into the really cool part, the power of these micro refinements. You're going to be surprised at just how big of an impact these tiny changes can have. Just look at this. On the left, you've got a prototype that works. It's fine, it gets the job done, but on the right, after those tiny refinements, the whole experience is transformed. The navigation suddenly feels intuitive instead of clunky. The text is just easier to read. The core functions are the same, but the feeling of using it is night and day. I love this point from the source material, which says, even minor alignment adjustments can make navigation more intuitive. Think about that for a second. Something as basic as getting your alignment perfect can completely change how a user understands and moves through your design. It builds this subconscious sense of order and trust. So if you're wondering where to even begin, here's a simple guide. Focus your attention on these 3 areas. First, clarity. Is everything as absolutely clear as it can possibly be? Second, flow. Does moving from one part to the next feel smooth and natural? And third, visual consistency. Does the whole thing look and feel like it belongs together? It really all comes down to that final 1%. That's what we're talking about. It's that last little push that gets you an absolutely massive return on your effort. This is what separates something that's just done from something that's truly refined. And the return on investment here it's just incredible. Look at this. The actual effort you have to put in for this final polish is pretty low, but the impact it has on the perceived quality and the final impression it leaves, it's huge. It is the very definition of working smarter, not just harder. Which, of course, brings us to our final section, making that impression. Because at the end of the day, all this work is about getting your prototype ready to be seen, to be used, and to be judged by other people. Right before you hand over your work, whether it's to your boss, a client, or a professor, this polishing stage is your last chance. This is your final opportunity to make sure that what they see is the absolute best version of your work, with no little distractions or sloppy mistakes. A polished prototype says so much about you without you ever having to say a word. It tells people that you're thorough, that you've thought about every little detail. It signals professionalism, that your work meets a high standard, and it really shows a commitment to delivering a quality experience. So when you put all that together, the takeaway is pretty clear. Taking that little bit of extra time for these final adjustments is what ensures your work, and by extension you, will make a strong, positive, and lasting impression. So I'll leave you with this question. The next time you think your project is finished, just take a moment and ask yourself, what small detail, what final 1% of effort is going to be the thing that defines the entire impression you make?